Game over, man. Game over.
You're gonna need a bigger potion.
So serious.
I am Iron Man.
This is a tasty burger.
Welcome to the InSession Film Podcast.
Welcome to episode 652 for August 31st, 2025, and I'm JD Duran.
And I'm Brennan Cassidy.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. If you're watching on YouTube, I am recording this from a bunker. I have a green light, and that's it. I'm in a cave.
It's ominous. It's so ominous. You would think that we're talking about something very negative on this show, but that's not the case at all.
It's not. We're not recording our review of Wicked tonight, although this might be the setting that I choose to use for that review when we get to Wicked Part 2 later on in the year.
Makes sense.
I'm having some sort of issue with my lighting. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to have to fix it. I've never really had this problem before, but we're going dark on this episode in terms of the lighting. Hopefully not in terms of the tone of the conversation.
It still sounds good. That's all that matters.
Yeah, that's the important thing. You can hear me, and that's the most important bit of it. I'm really excited for this week's show. We've brought on a wonderful guest. I'm very excited to have her on here for the first time, at least here on the main show. She has had an appearance on Women in Session. But joining us is Julia Sirmons, co-host of 1999, the podcast. Julia, thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Great to have you on here. I came to your podcast actually some months ago because one of the Women in Session crew, I think it was Kristen actually, reached out and said, hey, there's this 1999, the podcast. We were beginning our homework for this retrospective we're doing next week. And I think Kristen was joking around saying something like, I should join you guys for Mystery Alaska or something like that because I'm a huge hockey guy. I was like, yeah, I would love to talk about that movie. So that's how you came onto my radar. And then I heard you on Women in Session, and I wanted to reach out because obviously with this retrospective coming on, it made a lot of sense to have someone here to talk about 1999 when their podcast is titled 1999 the podcast. Just makes a lot of sense.
Such a great idea for a show.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So-
it's I actually believe there is another podcast devoted to 1999 movies, but you should obviously listen to our podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
We agree. That's why we're glad to have you here specifically.
Absolutely. Well, let's start here. 1999 obviously hailed as one of the best years for cinema ever. When you guys decided to do this, is it a search to give credence to that idea, to see why people are coming to that conclusion? I'm curious, what was the foundation? What was the nucleus that kind of launched that for you guys?
So I kind of tagged on later. I am actually the third co-host of 1999, the podcast, and John Brooks, my co-host, is the one who's done it all along.
It's kind of like me with InSession Film. I'm not one of the founding members here.
Another blended.
But if you look at our back catalog, you can see there was kind of like a attempt to mix it up, like to do some of the biggies and then to do some silly ones. Like before I was the co-host, I guested on an episode of Forces of Nature, the Ben Affleck and Sandra Bullock rom-com. Yeah. So, which is like not even in the second tier of rom-coms that came out in that year. But, and I think John was like trying to save the really good ones for later. And then at a certain point, he's like, well, what are we doing? Let's watch some good movies, And actually, my relationship to 1999 is a little bit weird because I was 16 in 1999, so I was not yet able to go to rated R films. So I kind of, a lot of the great 1999 films, I kind of caught on cable within the next few in 2000, 2001, whatever I could see.
Yeah.
So there are really actually big gaps in my knowledge. And so what we're doing now is we're going to go revisit some of the movies we've done in old episodes, but they're new to me. So
it's funny that you say that, because that's been the joy of doing these retrospectives generally, is that we're able to catch up with some blind spots or revisit films that we saw 20 some odd years ago, and how have they reshaped in our minds. It's a lot of fun. And I'm very similar to you in the sense that I was 14, so I'm just a few years behind you, in 1999. So many of these films I did not see in real time. I caught up with many of these much later, including some that are at the very top of the list for 1999 for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So doing this retrospective is a lot of fun, because I haven't seen some of these films in 20 years. A lot of them are first timers for me, and trying to recontextualize them when thinking about them through the lens of 99 has been a really fun adventure, challenge at times. I don't know how you feel, Brennan. I'm sure we'll talk more about this next week on the show when we actually get to the retrospective. But that is ultimately why we do these retrospectives, is exactly what you're talking about there, Julia.
Yeah. And it's really interesting for a year like 1999, when you have many films that kind of became trendsetters in their own ways. I feel like, if anything, 1999 is one of the most influential years for cinema, for better and for worse, depending on the kind of film. But I think of a movie like even something like The Blair Witch Project, which kind of created its own trend of horror movie making in its own way. And it's something I had to catch up with later. I'm way behind you guys. I was 8 years old going on 9 in the year 1999.
You're such a baby.
I am such a baby. So I had to catch up with a lot of these films way later. So I never really had the literal connection to the year as it was happening in real time. So I have a very different relationship to the year, which makes it even more fun trying to look at it through the lens of what the year was ultimately like when some of these movies came out and were really new and innovative for the time. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
It's something I was thinking about when we were preparing for the question of the overview, is that something that I really associate with 99, which you would experience even if you didn't see the movies, was these intense moments of anticipation and excitement around a lot of movies, like Blair Witch Project, and this whole buzz about, was it real or was it not? And, and, obviously Phantom Menace, like having a huge buzz about that. Yeah. And then Kubrick, Eyes Wide Shut, everyone was like, OMG, there's going to be a big orgy scene.
There was a lot of intrigue around the movies of that year, for sure.
And I try not to be an old person whining about movies these days, but, it does seem like those kinds of collective moments are not so common.
Unfortunately so.
Yeah, it's very rare. And, sometimes you get a Barbenheimer and then they try to forcibly replicate that, and it just doesn't work the way that it used to. The internet has certainly changed movies in a lot of ways, for sure. I guess when we're talking about 1999, Julia, is there a specific place you want to start? Do you want to start with its legacy? Do you want to start with some of the most influential films from that year?
Well, I guess I kind of had, what I was thinking about when I was looking at 99 as a whole, I just felt like part of what made it a good year was it was a really healthy ecosystem. Like, there are good movies in a lot of different categories, because I think the big nominees, the big awards contenders, they're all American Beauty, Insider, Talented Mr. Ripley, Magnolia, John Malkovich. Like, these are all really solid, and some of them really innovative films. And I even still like Cider House Rules a little bit, I have to confess.
Okay.
And within that really solid block of award contenders, you're meeting, people for the first time who are going to become hugely influential, like Sam Mendes, Alan Ball, Charlie Kaufman. Like, these are people who are going to really make their mark on the industry, and they're all kind of new and exciting to look at.
Mhm.
But then
Yeah.
you have just like these whole, like, you have like maybe the crest of Julia Roberts' rom-com career, with like Runaway Bride and Notting Hill, and maybe that's like the apex of it before she goes on to Aaron Brockovich and stuff.
Sure.
And like just a
Mhm.
huge amount of teen comedies and teen movies, like all the problematic faves of like She's All That, Never Been
Yeah.
Kissed, 10 Things I Hate About You, and then like Cruel Intentions and all these other, American Pie, like all these other
Mhm.
levels where things are happening that are really part of the zeitgeist of the time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes sense to see a lot of that happening when it was essentially the turn of a century. You know, like to see all that kind of happen at the end of a certain phase and then the start of a new phase. It's perhaps coincidental, but I'm not even sure if that it is. A lot of people were getting their unofficial debuts in 1999, and it represented a very different time for what movies did.
Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting what you're saying about the ecosystem of movies in 1999, because I'm looking through the list here of a bunch of movies that came out that year, and you put them through the lens of 2025, and 3/4 of these land on a streaming service somewhere, or they don't even get made at all, which is crazy to think about. Like you think about the legacy of this year and how people hold it on such a high pedestal, and today it just, these movies don't get made, or they land somewhere and they just go away and no one ever sees them, unless you get a K-pop Demon Hunters kind of reaction that come out of nowhere. That could have certainly have happened with some of these for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But so many of these movies, they don't hit the zeitgeist in any way, shape, or form today, and it makes you think even further about the state of cinema now, which I'm not as doom and gloom on it as a lot of other people seem to be. I think there's a lot of great movies that come out each and every year, but to your point, Julia, I do wonder how more robust the industry could be if it was, if the ecosystem was more like 99 instead of whatever it is now.
Yeah, and it's really funny because our next episode is going to be on the 99 remake of the Thomas Crown Affair, which is
Okay. Yeah.
it's not a great movie, but it is really fun and like definitely
It's charming. It's very sexy. Yeah.
Yeah, and sexy, exactly. And that's what we were talking about, was that reviews at the time were very much kind of like, oh, how refreshing to have a sexy, seductive story between two people in their 40s. And so like even at that time, that was considered a special treat, or like something that the industry wasn't interested in.
Kind of rare. I mean, before that, what did you have? Jackie Brown, the Quentin Tarantino film, 2 years beforehand or something like that? There wasn't that many.
And I think it was probably influenced by Out of Sight, right, which came out in 97, I think.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, I guess you have, like, we were talking about this, but like, do you have that at all, or does anything like that, an adult romance, go to streaming?
Yeah. Well, and I think to your point, JD, I think a lot of these would go to streaming, and I think that's unfortunate. Even though I was only 8 or 9 years old around this time, I still have fond memories seeing some of these movies in theaters when they came out, and they felt like events. At least they did to me at 9 years old. I remember going to see the Martin Lawrence film Blue Streak in theaters and absolutely loving it. But that would never go to
Netflix movie today.
That's a
No
Netflix movie today. There's no way that goes to theaters. If anything, 1999 really represented this communal event of what it meant to go to the movies, regardless of what type of genre movie that it was. And I feel like we're starting to see that narrative change a little bit now in 2025, when you have movies like The Naked Gun playing in theaters and people really enjoying that. Like the idea of the comedy specifically still being something that should be a theatrical shared event. That was all over 1999. And that's something I'd love to see come back.
Yeah. That's the one element of the retrospective I wish I had more time for, was to dive into many of those comedies. Unfortunately, that's the one subsect of film here that I am
There were some good ones, dude.
On.
There were some good ones.
Oh yeah,
I'll just say this.
I've seen many of them previously when I was in college, but I haven't revisited them in years.
Some of them are fearless. They were fearless back in 1999 with some of these comedies.
I have a real fondness for Jawbreaker with Rose McGowan.
Oh, I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah,
I was hoping.
It's really like trying to be the Heathers of 1999, and it like kind of succeeds.
Yeah, I was very partial to the movie Dick with Michelle Williams and Kirsten Dunst.
We will get there.
Oh,
if I am indeed doing a top 10 list, we will certainly get there.
All right.
Okay. Wow.
All right.
Brett did get it ahead of the curve here.
I didn't mean for that to happen, but okay.
No.
No,
Happy to talk Dick at any time.
I love that movie.
Yeah, don't take that out of context at all. Knowing the internet. We'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, I mean, to your point, the comedies of 1999 certainly noteworthy for sure. And hopefully we are veering more toward that with the success of The Naked Gun. Who knows if Hollywood's going to take the right or wrong lesson from that. I think we all know probably what's going to happen there.
Speaking,
but yeah. But that does make the 90s, the early 2000s. I certainly do miss the variety and being able to have that wide-ranging ecosystem that we just don't have as much of today. And I do think there's a lot of great movies that come out each and every year, but I do wish it was a little bit more wide-ranging for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else that stands out to you, Julia, whether it be comedies or elsewhere?
You mean just film specifically or kind of overall?
Yeah, film or just anything that stands out or any other hidden gems aside from Dick. That's what we'll talk about later.
Dick is very much not hidden in my list. Do you want me to go into the overlooked section I have?
Yeah, let's talk about overlooked movies. Let's do that. Yeah.
So one I just rewatched before to prepare for this is American Movie.
It's so good.
Man, do I love this.
I mean, like I am probably too much of a sucker for movies about movie making, but I mean, this is just more than that. This is like scrappy movie making with like very serious intent and like no resources, trying to make this movie. And is it Wisconsin? I don't remember.
Yeah, I think it was just outside Milwaukee, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. But just like a lot of great documentaries, a wonderful character sketch of this like determined sad sack, inspiring madman who's just going to make this movie, God damn it, one way or the other. And just like the weird community that develops around him and that decides to help him because he has some sort of kind of weird charisma. And I think there's all these things about like a Midwestern masculinity and friendship and addiction and redemption, like all these things that still resonate a lot today.
Just to speak to that real fast, I think what makes American movies so fascinating is that it's in a weird way a compelling companion piece to the Blair Witch Project, because you're talking about a guy who is obsessed with wanting to make this horror film in this small indie kind of way, which is the backdrop to the Blair Witch Project and how it's marketed and how we perceive it to be. And it's almost like he's trying to get there, but fails miserably in every sort of way, which also is kind of the Blair Witch Project. It's like what we see with those characters is very much a failure. So like, I don't know. It's kind of like this meta yin and yang with that film that I find so fascinating. I can see that.
It's an interesting point.
And I love it. And I think it just works great as a documentary about the failed American dream and how that impacts a person on a personal level. Great. That's a great movie. I really love it a lot.
So I was thinking about it. I started to think about like there are actually a lot of movies about, or a few interesting movies about making movies from '99. One being Bowfinger.
Hilarious movie.
Hilarious. And it's just another, it's like about this mad desire to make movies at any cost and at any, it feels almost like a caper film, like the idea that they're making this movie in secret and getting away with it.
Sure. Yeah.
That's a great one.
It seemed like a lot of contemporary reviews of it said it recalled The Producers, And I
Yeah,
think
I
it
can
has
see
that
that.
kind of vibe to it of just these like,
I can
Yeah.
kind of sense that Mel Brooks kind of vibe to it in a way.
yeah. I think it's maybe Eddie Murphy's best work on screen.
Really interesting.
yeah.
He is really, it's a very different type of role for him. He's very
It
eccentric
is
for sure.
Yeah.
And then bonus points for anticipating how weird Scientology was going to get.
It was kind of predictive. That's a good point.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I forget what they call it in Bowfinger, like Mindhead or something like that.
Yeah, but it's not too far off at all from the
Mindhead. That's what it's
minutia
called.
of
Yeah.
Scientology.
Crazy.
And then as I was doing this, I found another film that I hadn't seen in a long time, documentary called My Best Fiend, which is a Werner Herzog documentary. And it's him examining his relationship with Klaus Kinski, who was his leading man in a bunch of his important films.
Yeah.
And just a true madman and a huge pain in the ass. And it has a lot of great footage of Kinski just losing it and the crew just trying to deal with that. And apparently some of the indigenous tribes that were appearing in the film came to Herzog and offered to murder Kinski for him. And
Wow. Okay.
and he said, no, we need him for 2 more days of shooting. Don't do that.
So just wait to murder him.
Yeah.
Wow.
But in like the process of telling the story, there's all this footage of them making these movies, Aguirre, The Wrath of God, and Fitzcarraldo, which they made in South American jungles. And you see like how dangerous it was, and their boats were crashing, and all these things that almost went wrong. And in that sense, even more than it's about Kinski and what a madman he was, it's just kind of this tribute to filmmaking as this thing that only madmen would do.
Sure.
That's fascinating. It sounds like I haven't seen the film, but it sounds very Werner Herzog to me. So I need to immediately watch that movie. Yeah. Love that. Anything else on your overlooked list then?
Yeah, this one is very hard to find, unfortunately. I think you can only get it on AMC Plus, but it's a movie called Mr. Death, which is an Errol Morris documentary, and it's about a man named Fred Leuchter, who decided it was his mission in life to make executions more humane. And so he invented all these different contraptions that were ostensibly going to help executions be less painful and more dignified. And then like, that's very weird to start with.
Yeah.
And then it follows him as he uses what he believes is his expertise that he's gained in doing this. And he does his own research and he becomes a Holocaust denier.
Wow.
And
that's not a turn that I expected this conversation.
What a twist.
Wow. Okay.
And you know, Morris is known for kind of drawing his subjects out. Like he doesn't really push back a lot on them. He just kind of sort of reveals their character very slowly. And I think, like we get to know this dark weirdo, but you really see the process of how falling into a conspiracy happens and how you like then join a community of people who believe in the conspiracy. And this just all gets ossified and you're like stuck there. And it feels he's really a master of tone as well, Morris. And it really feels very surreal and creepy and just, incredibly relevant right now, unfortunately.
I was just about to say another film that sounds like it's 2 decades ahead of its time. Like, oh my God, you're describing everything that's happening now. That's crazy.
It's really great. I would really recommend it if you can get hold of it.
Okay. That's very exciting. I would definitely add those to the list. I'll try to get to those before we get to the retrospective.
We have 1 week, Katie. 1 week.
I know. And there's still 30 other films on my list, but I'm going to at least try to get to these documentaries. I think I can get to the documentaries if I can find them. I'm hoping that they're available somewhere, but that is exciting. Brendan, do you have any other thoughts on those?
Yeah, those were on my list for a while, but to your point, Julia, a lot of them I've just had a hard time being able to find anywhere. Mr. Death specifically is one I've heard a lot of interesting things about, but didn't know where it was available, if anywhere. I do want to go back to the first one you brought up, American Movie, which I do think is quite great. Of the documentaries that I have seen in preparation for this retrospective, that one definitely stood out. A man like Mark, front and center there, he's a man that I would never trust with my personal money. But watching him and his passionate drive to make this movie, I think is just something that's not even fun to watch, but also just kind of endearing. And I could have seen like a 10-hour movie of just his conversations with his buddy, Mike Schenk, who is sadly no longer with us. He passed away. I forget exactly what year. But some of the conversations that they have together, him being that musician, it's really intriguing stuff. And I love that movie for all the same reasons that we just talked about.
Yeah. Yeah. Really great doc. That one I have seen, highly recommend that one for sure.
Yeah.
Julia, what do you think about award season that year?
Okay. I have a whole page of notes here.
Okay.
So if we go into my list later, you'll see that it diverges quite a bit from the awards season.
Yeah.
Where am I? Where are awards? I know I have Meryl Streep, Music of the Heart. What the hell?
I think the bigger what the hell is Wes Craven. What the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was kind of surprised. Actually, this was the episode that Kristen joined us for. Was Neil Jordan's "The End of the Affair."
Okay.
Julianne Moore getting nominated for that, and I believe for the SAG she got nominated for Magnolia as well, which I'm totally fine with. But
Yeah.
The End of the Affair, it's an incredibly subtle performance, and does not the kind of things awards usually go for. Like they'll nominate them, but they wouldn't pick them.
Sure.
So she talked about Michael Caine for Cider House Rules.
What do you? So earlier you mentioned that you kind of like that movie. What did you think of that performance?
I think it's great. I think it's very I feel like for Cider House Rules, you just have to roll with the sentimentality of it. And I think him as this kind of like intense, but fractured father figure and mentor, and there's a kind of gentleness to his quality on the performance that is not necessarily what we think of Michael Caine in his younger years. And I think it's a really beautiful performance, but that Oscar belongs to Tom Cruise.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
He's great
we
in
talked about this a little bit last week on the show. I think that was last week on the show.
Last week, when we did our
when we
5
did
favorite performances of the year.
Yeah, for me, I would go with Haley Joel Osment here. And again, I think we're talking about one of the very best child performances of all time. And it's really hard to get great child performances. And I think that's legitimately one of the top 5 we've ever seen. I think he's given 2 of the top 5 performances we've ever seen from child actors. But Tom Cruise from Magnolia, I would absolutely have no issues with here. I think that's easily one of his best performances. And I'm right there with you, Julia. If it went to him, and it probably should have.
Yeah.
That's where my vote would have gone as well.
Yeah, I like a lot about Eyes Wide Shut, but the reason it doesn't make it quite for me into my list is that I find his performance in it very uneven. And that he's struggling to use his star persona, but also kind of be an actor in this very intense, twisted drama. And he can't make that work all the time. And that movie rests so much on his performance that...
I think that's fair.
But in Magnolia, he fuses those things perfectly into this like wonderfully dark, compelling character. And I not a hot take, but I think probably his best performance ever.
Yeah, probably. I think it's pretty interesting the way you talk about his performance in Eyes Wide Shut, and maybe not as successfully straddling that line between dramatic actor and movie star actor. And I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think that's something you can kind of sense the struggle with in Eyes Wide Shut. But I think in a weird way, I think he actually did that kind of thing better as a leading man in something like Cameron Crowe's Vanilla Sky only a few years later. I actually think he's very good in that film. And I think actually did a pretty better job kind of straddling that line a little bit too. But of course, his performance in Magnolia is Magnolia. You can't really argue against that one.
Yeah. I think this is a pretty solid 5 here, at least as far as the Academy is concerned. I think they did
Overall,
a pretty
yeah.
great job with supporting actor. Are there any other? Well, you said you had a page of notes. I'm curious what else you have.
I just want to briefly check Jude Law because I do think that is there's a purity and total essence that he manages to capture in Talented Mr. Ripley of this like golden god, but who this ultimately careless person who will just dispose of people whenever he's bored. I thought he does it. It's such an elegant performance, but so it's definitely another
I'm a fan.
highlight of it for me.
Yeah.
So then I had thoughts about Jolie for Girl Interrupted.
Yeah, Brendan, you just saw this as well. I think you have some thoughts.
I want to hear what Julia's thoughts are first because I might be afraid to say anything.
Okay. Well, I think it's a wonderful performance. It's more right on the flashy side, like we say, like that tend to be more appealing for awards voters. I try, like, the soapbox I find the hardest to get off as an old movie podcaster is like, God damn it, why don't we have stars anymore? Like, and Jolie is just a massive star. And I think talking about star, image, and character, she's this really sexy character, but this dangerous character, because if you're a patient in that mental institution and you're trying to get well, she is not trying to get well, and so she's very seductive to you, but she's also very dangerous. And I think she does that so perfectly, and it's just like you can't take your eyes off of her. So I think it's a very worthy performance, and it kind of, makes me wish she was doing more. I think I would pick Catherine Keener in Being John Malkovich, though.
She's great in that movie. I think of these 5, my favorite is actually Samantha Morton for Sweet and Lowdown. It's a very gimmicky performance because it is, and I talked about this during our top 5 GD last week. It's like she plays a mute character and doesn't speak a word in that movie, so has to rely on really complicated things in order to make that performance work, and says so much without actually saying anything. And I think it's really beautiful stuff.
Yeah. I actually just watched Sweet and Lowdown right before getting on this
interesting
episode. And I'm with you on Morton. I think she is excellent in that film. Easily my favorite thing about it.
Yeah. And
it's hard for me to push back against you there, Brendan. If she would have won this, I would have had no issue. Keener or Collette could have also have won this, and I would have been ecstatic. I'm kind of, I guess, on the same level with all 3 of them. I do love all 3 of those performances quite a lot. So, okay. Where do you want to go next? What other category do you have here?
Well, we have. Please stop me at any time because I went through all the Wikipedia pages for all the big awards show and kind of put my takes on everything.
Good.
No, I love it. Yeah.
So we not so long ago did episode on Man on the Moon, the Jim Carrey, Andy Kaufman piece. And I don't know if I would have picked him.
Okay.
It's a very earnest and it's often an endearing performance, but I'm always a little anxious around performances or left a little cold by performances that seem too much like an impression.
Okay.
Okay.
And so it wasn't my favorite of the year, but if you look at the other actors in the category, Hugh Grant in Notting Hill, which is like, I guess you could give him the award for being the most Hugh Grant he's ever been. I guess Sean Penn in Sweet and Lowdown is maybe the best contender. I don't know. What do you think? That kind of did not work for me.
Yeah, I don't love Sweet and Lowdown. The things that really save that movie for me come down to Samantha Morton's performance and the fact that I like the world that it depicts, because I'm actually a big fan of gypsy jazz music from the 1930s. The main
Me
character
too.
of Ray, yeah, I love that kind of. My dad actually performs that kind of music. It's one of his part-time jobs. It's really fun to see. But I'm a huge fan of Django Reinhardt, much like the main character in Sweet and Lowdown is, and he idolizes him. But I do think Sean Penn's performance is kind of one note in that movie. I think he's doing some great physical things, but I don't necessarily feel like I'm seeing a character, which I guess is kind of the point because it is kind of a mockumentary of sorts. So the phoniness of it, I guess, is kind of the point. But I do feel like the movie is simultaneously trying to showcase somewhat of an arc at times with the character of Ray, and I don't think Sean Penn's really ever given the license to do that more. It does feel more like an impression of something that never existed as opposed to an actual character. And that's why I was a little bit mixed on his awards buzz around that movie.
Yeah. I'm kind of with you. I don't love Sean Penn in that film. There are like I will say this with Jim Carrey. I would have preferred him over at least two of these nominees. When it comes to award season, and this isn't a 1999 thing, this is an every year thing with the Academy. They obviously have their criteria and they look for certain things in a performance, and obviously marketing is a big part of the equation in all of this. So it's a little challenging when we're talking about best actor in a general sense, because like there's nothing here as far as foreign film goes. There was a performance last week that we talked about on the show, Brendan, from Afterlife that I would have in this mix, but that was never a reality.
No.
In 1999. So that was
the
never
Academy
gonna
probably
happen.
didn't even see that movie at the time.
Absolutely. I probably would have went for Nick Cage, honestly, over
for Bringing Out the Dead. Yeah.
some of these. Yeah, absolutely. But that was never going to be a reality in 1999. So you kind of have to weigh the what's realistic versus what isn't, unless we're going to have a broad conversation like we do with the InSession Film Awards, where we just talk about the film or the year at large and what we think is the best versus what the criteria is for the Academy. So, and I don't know the context, to be perfectly honest. Maybe you can speak to it, Julie, if you know. I don't know if there was a push for Jim Carrey and he just missed, or if there wasn't as much of a push. I honestly don't know.
Well, he won.
Because I would take him over Sean Penn and Denzel. And I love Denzel. He is really great in The Hurricane. I don't think it's his best work. And again, I can think of probably 4 other 5 performances that I would take over those two. The other 3, though, and maybe Spacey is debatable as well, because that's a whole nother can of worms. But Russell Crowe and Richard Farnsworth, those will always be in a 5 for me from that year, hands down. That's 2 of the best, and I think the Oscar should have went to either one of those 2.
I can never decide. I switch back and forth between days, which one I would have given it to.
For me, it would be Richard Farnsworth. That he does give my favorite performance of the entire year. But at the same time, I also think Russell Crowe's performance in The Insider might be his career best performance. I jokingly say it was so good that the Academy finally gave him an Oscar for it 2 years later when he recycled it for A Beautiful Mind, because the mannerisms are so similar in a way. But I think regardless, it is probably his best performance, but there is something so amazing about Richard Farnsworth's work with his work in The Straight Story. It's wonderful stuff.
All right, Brennan, let's talk about The Naked Gun.
Not
comedy.
No hyperbole, not a joke, not a ironic statement when I say one of the best movies of the year.
It is very funny. And not just because they're sponsoring the show. I'm not saying that just because they're here supporting us. It genuinely is one of the better films of the year so far. And it's hysterical. It's really, really funny. I still think about some of these quotes pretty often. In fact, earlier today, maybe because they're sponsoring this and I was prepping for the show, I don't know, but
Yeah.
I was thinking of that moment where Liam Neeson at the end of that film is talking about revenge and don't do it, even though it's the best feeling you'll ever have. Like, I just laughed so hard. Oh, it's so good.
It's kind of like the ethos of his character from Taken, just
Yeah.
integrated within this movie.
It's just so perfect.
I love how self-aware it is. I have already started the legal proceedings to get my name changed to Cherry Roosevelt Fat Bozo Eating Spaghetti.
So good. Love it. I love this movie, genuinely. And we have 5 digital codes to give away. If you haven't seen the film, or if you have seen the film and you want to have this at home to watch it digitally whenever you want, great news. We have 5 digital codes to give away. And as always, if you want to win one of these, just follow us on social media at InSession Film on all the social medias. But we'll put out a post later on this week. All you have to do is interact with the post. You are immediately entered. Make sure that you follow us as well. I've had this problem come up in the past because we pick them randomly, totally random. And if you win and you don't follow us and I have no way to contact you, then you're SOL. I have to redraw. I need a way to get a hold of you. So all you have to do is interact with the post and make sure that you follow us so that way I can DM you once you win. It's that simple. It's very easy, and you'll have an opportunity to win one of these digital codes. It's fantastic. The film is going to be out on digital this week. So by the time this episode goes live, the movie should be available. So even if you don't win, you can go ahead and rent it or buy it out digitally. It's fantastic. We are both big fans of it.
So good.
So go check out The Naked Gun, and we thank them for their support. All right, Brennan, let's talk about Audible. This is one of my favorite apps that you can find anywhere. I deeply love Audible. I use it all the time. I listen to all kinds of books. I am trying to get through Lord of the Rings still.
Good luck.
Get through Lord of the Rings. I have also downloaded the Ahsoka book, the Star Wars Ahsoka book. I have not read it as much as I love Ahsoka. I've never read that novel before.
Okay.
So that is on my list. I've downloaded Dune. I'm also trying to get through Dune simultaneously because I've never gone through those books either. So lots of great stuff. I have a hockey book. I was just going to say,
where are the sports books that you have there? Because Audible is not just fantasy and sci-fi. It's got everything.
It's got everything. So I have a hockey book. I'm also trying to get through. There's business books. I've gone through 2 marketing books in the last year as well. So it really does have everything, and it's really fantastic. I know this is a bit controversial, and a lot of people don't want to support the creator of it. That's perfectly fine. But Audible is also, they're re-releasing the Harry Potter books that will have a full cast. It won't just be one narrator going through the whole thing. It's going to have a full cast. I know that's one of their big events that's coming up. I think that's on pre-order now. That's coming out in November, I believe.
Okay.
So they've been promoting the heck out of that. So it's worth mentioning because Audible does support us.
That sounds cool.
And we love Audible. But look, even if you don't want to support the creator of Harry Potter, and I don't blame anyone that doesn't want to support.
You could still enjoy the good stories that they have to offer.
Or again, they have 200,000 titles to choose from.
Oh, yeah.
Literally 200,000 titles.
So many, they cover the gamut as far as what types of books you can actually be spending your time with. I've been having a lot of fun listening/reading autobiographies of famous jazz musicians like Herbie Hancock and Miles Davis. Even my wife has been listening to a lot of audiobooks. She's really into a lot of these cowboy romance stories, as well as some of these other books that tend to be dubbed as romantasy, I think, which are very popular and very relevant right now. But it just goes to show that Audible has something for everybody.
Exactly. So there is such a wide variety that there is plenty to be found. You are going to find something that you love.
Yeah.
And they've like Audible makes sure that the production is fantastic. So you're going to find great stuff all over Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/InSessionFilm. You'll get a free audiobook, a 30-day free trial. It is incredible. I use it all the time. Seriously, I'm not just saying this for the sake of the promo. I genuinely use Audible all the time. I love it. And I can't get enough of it. Right now it's hard because college football has started. So
Oh
I'm
my
like
gosh.
trying to divvy my time between Audible and all of these football podcasts I want to listen to as well. So it's getting a little trickier now that the fall is here, but I still listen to my books.
Never
all the time. I
stop
love it.
contenting.
No, exactly. So go give that a try. Again, that's audibletrial.com/InSessionFilm. Click that link. Of course, it's going to be in the description of this episode. You'll get a free audiobook, 30-day free trial, and we thank Audible for their support.
So do you have other thoughts about awards, or is it just not that interesting to you? Do you have thought? I would love to hear your thoughts about Best Actress, because I actually have to confess I have not seen Boys Don't Cry.
Yeah, I mean, have you caught up with that one yet, Brendan? I'm curious.
I haven't. That's another one I can't seem to
Okay.
find anywhere. So I have to admit, the Best Actress category for the Oscars specifically, with Hilary Swank, Boys Don't Cry, Annette Bening in American Beauty, Janet McTeer, Tumbleweeds, Julianne Moore, The End of the Affair, Meryl Streep, Music of the Heart. I've only ever seen one of these movies, and that's American Beauty, Annette Bening's performance in that. So I can't speak to the rest of these for that category, unfortunately.
Yeah, I have seen 3 of these. Hilary Swank is really great in the film. I don't fully love the movie itself. I do think Hilary Swank is really great, though, and a very committed performance. It's a devastating movie, and so much of it is the way, like the vigor that comes off screen. And there's a lot of depth and a lot of nuance to the performance that is. I wish the film better served the performance.
Okay.
I think the film kind of fails her in a way, but I do think she is really great. And of these 5, again, I haven't seen Streep or Moore, so I can't say fully, but of the 3, I do think she gives the best performance of those 3. And Janet McTeer is wonderful in Tumbleweeds, but it does feel a little bit like that indie darling performance that
there's the little engine that could kind of thing.
Yeah, it reminded me a little bit of Coda, like the way that people responded to Coda. And again, I'm a defender of, I think that's a good movie and it gets way too much shit. Like I don't think it deserves the hate that it gets.
It's a cute
even
movie.
if it didn't deserve an awards. And I'm kind of there with McTeer. I don't know if it deserved a nomination, but it is a really charming, fun performance. And I can see why the Academy, especially given the Academy of 1999, why they would have went for that performance.
Well, I think it, like, regardless of the moment, is important in terms of the context of 99, and like still struggling for queer representation, and the question of, like, could we, I mean, it's not like I've decided I'm never going to see this movie, but I just haven't made it a priority because
it's
by the time I got to college, I was, with a lot of queer friends and in gender studies classes, and it already had this reputation of, like, I hate to say the word problematic, but that, like, there were problems with it. So I just never sought it out. But I think it is like that moment of sort of talking about, we want to tell this story. And like, how do you tell this story? And is, imperfect representation better than no representation? And I think
it's a great question.
That's very much of that moment, and still continues to this day, actually.
And I think that's why it's still a worthy film, and just telling the story and the power that it has. But as a movie, I do think it becomes trapped in traditional biopic pitfalls. There are times when the film gets outside of it, and when you couple that with Hilary Swank's performance, it really is great. Like those moments are maybe some of the best of 1999. But I think it eventually gets too bogged down in we got to tell the story instead of getting to the humanity of it, which is interesting because Hilary Swank is coming at it totally antithetically. Like she wants to get into the depths of that character and really get into what drove Brandon and his choices. And it's a really great performance. I think where it suffers is again in the writing. It doesn't fully complement it, but Swink is great though.
So do you have any big thoughts on things like director, picture, screenplay, stuff like that? Or is
Yeah, we definitely have some thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah. Where do you want to go? Do you want to kick things off as far as director goes?
I mean, I don't know. Like American Beauty was really important to me at the time. It has not aged so well for me. But I don't think that I think the way a world is created in that film, I think you could make the case for, even if it's not the greatest film, like the intensity and the care that he brings to it.
It's well made. It's
yeah.
well made regardless of how you feel about its subject matter and the topicality of it all.
But I don't know, like Magnolia is an incredibly ambitious film. And I think I like it when people shoot for the moon, you know, and I think he pretty much pulls it off. But I also love Michael Mann, and like he's a great stylist and has a consistent style, but he's very good at adapting it to the material he's using. So I'm a big Man fan, I guess you could say. So
you're preaching to the choir there.
Yeah. We love going down the manhole.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess I would pick Man if you like put a gun to my head, but I think it is interesting.
Yeah. Michael Mann. Yeah, Michael Mann would have been in a 5 for me for sure.
Probably for me as well. I often cite The Insider as probably my favorite film that Michael Mann has made. But at the same time, when I look at these nominees, there is something about the innovation of having Spike Jonze here that I just absolutely respect. I just respect the hell out of that being included. I feel like in many ways that was I feel like every year, the 5 nominees for Best Director, there's always one slot reserved for who is the most experimental and weird choice, just to say that we honored someone who did something bold with the formula and the format. And I feel like Spike Jonze was maybe that one for this particular year, even though I think it's also a deserved one. Admittedly, I think I would have liked to see it maybe go to Paul Thomas Anderson for Magnolia because of the epicness and the scope of that movie. It really is a director's movie in many ways. But I also love the boldness of just simply honoring a movie like Being John Malkovich in such a high-end category.
Yeah. I mean, Magnolia for sure would have also been in a 5 for me. I don't mind at all M. Night being in there for The Sixth Sense. The Wachowski sisters should have been in there. That's kind of a crazy miss in hindsight. Like that probably would have rounded out a 5.
I don't know. David Lynch, man.
And David Lynch as well. I mean, yeah, put in Lynch in the Wachowskis for Mendes and Cider House. Those are the 2 that I would take out. And that's probably how I'd round out my 5. Again, when I'm just looking at it through the lens of the Academy. If I put in my own personal lens, very different 5. Although there is some crossover there for sure, but ultimately a very different 5. I would have to include one of my favorite filmmakers of all time if we're going to throw in the JD lens, but that was never going to happen. So, like, if we're looking at it through the lens of just the Academy, I think that makes sense, and that's very plausible.
Sure.
To switch out those 2. So, like, you know, I understand the appeal though of American Beauty at the time, like in the context of 1999, and it's hard to remove the 2025 lens. But I don't blame them at all at the time, knowing what they know then, why American Beauty won for directing and even Best Picture.
I can see
of
why.
course,
I
actor.
absolutely see why
Yeah.
it won those awards.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time for me, especially at that time in my life, this idea of the dark side and the banality of suburbia, like that really resonated
sure.
with me. And
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's and it did so in such a domesticated way that it sort of created a new trend for what epic domestic dramas could look like going forward. That film and Magnolia kind of did it in their own respective ways. So I can understand why a movie like American Beauty was honored in that way, because just tonally speaking, the vibe of that movie was just so new and so different. We talked about this last week, JD. Like, American Beauty is not a film I hate. I used to love it when I first saw it back in, I think I saw it back in like 2007 or something when I first caught up with it. But I think I was caught up with the vibe of that movie, the way it kind of felt. I think if anything, it's really more of a comedic movie. And I think that's really where it more succeeds than anything else as a comedy. But underneath, it's not really about anything. Like, I've kind of learned that now. It doesn't really have that much that I take away from it anymore. But there are some enjoyable aspects of it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is well made, and I don't think it's a terrible movie. It certainly hasn't aged all that well. Agreed. I was never the biggest fan of it, even when I first saw it. Sure. But I did understand the appeal. I certainly could see why voters went for it at the time. Yeah. I have become even more, like the film has become even more weak in my eyes as the years have gone on.
It gets worse.
Yeah, like that film wouldn't even come close to a top 50 for me from 1999.
No. I think what did I call it last week, GD? I think I said it's like the artsy fartsy version of American Pie.
Yeah, something.
Oh wow, that'd be a great double feature.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any other directors that you guys maybe would have, like? Let's say today's Academy is in charge of redoing this category. Like, do we think it, like the Wachowski sisters would for sure get in, given the legacy of The Matrix? But what do we think about, like, Magnolia gets in for sure? I would think. Does Shyamalan is he still in the 5? You think?
I don't think he would be in today's lens.
No. Who else do you think would get in?
Who would or who should?
Both.
Yeah, because I think would versus should, those are two different answers that I can give here.
I agree.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I'll go back to one I cited that I think should have been there, but I actually see a world where David Lynch would have actually been in there in today's lens. I think the methodical precision of that movie. I could have seen him getting in. I could also see Martin Scorsese for Bringing Out the Dead getting in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Julia? What do you think?
Soderbergh for The Limey.
That's another one I was going to say.
Man,
yeah.
I would have loved that. See, that film is so strange and peculiar, which is why I totally understand why 1999 Academy did not go for it. 2025 Academy probably could. I still don't know, but that's what I love about The Limey and Soderbergh's direction there.
It did well at the Independent Spirit Awards,
Did
which
it?
was interesting.
Okay.
It was interesting to look at because these days it seems like there's so much overlap between the two, between that and the Oscars anymore, that it's not.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So Farnsworth won the Independent Spirit Award for Best Actor. Election won Best Picture. Election won a lot. Although
that's another one that could be a major player through today's lens. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Election.
I love that movie.
Although Reese Witherspoon did not win. Sarah Polley was nominated for Go for Best Supporting Actress, which seems so strange to me.
That's really weird. I'm not sure if I would go that far with that movie. But
I mean, she's great in it, but
she's very good in it. Yeah. Probably the best thing about that movie, I think.
Okay, well, let me
see what else.
Well, I wanted to ask you guys this because, and this might actually tailor to some more categories that we've already talked about, because like today's Academy, they love to include a lot of foreign films, because for Best Director, who I think gets in, like easily gets into a 5 for director through today's lens
I know where
is
you're going
Pedro
with
Almodovar. 100% he gets into the 5.
Yeah.
Absolutely no doubt in my mind. So it would have been him, Jones, Mann, maybe Shyamalan, and then probably it's either Magnolia or Matrix. That's probably the 5 today.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, Spain stopped for long. I don't know if they do it anymore, but they stopped submitting Almodovar films to the Academy for their Best Picture nominees because they're like, he just keeps winning. There's no other Spanish films.
I love that.
Well, he's one of the
attitude.
best.
That's
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah,
no,
interesting, Judy.
that's-
When you were talking about foreign language films that would most likely get in Best Director nowadays, I thought you were going to say Hirokazu Koreeda.
No, because like Coretta and the Academy don't have, like, even today, like I don't like Shoplifters made a little bit of a push, but like he doesn't have the same kind of larger appeal that other foreign directors have. And All About My Mother, even at the time, was huge.
Kind of a big deal.
And kind of a big deal. Afterlife was not a huge deal, especially with the Academy, even though I think it is one of the best films of that year.
I don't even think most audiences got a chance to finally see Afterlife until maybe, like 2001 or something like that here in the States. Like it was a 1999 film, but it wasn't that widely distributed as of yet.
Yeah. I mean, and even after the success of Shoplifters, like, I don't know if Coretta is a name that is like top of mind for a lot of people. Like the Broker, Monster, like those didn't really move the needle much outside of You and I.
No,
like
that's true.
You and I and a few other cinephiles went for it, and I think those are great movies, some of the best of their given years. But like he just doesn't have that kind of recognition with a lot of voters like Almodovar does.
No, you're right. You're right. I think there's more realism around Almodovar making it, not even just in 1999, but today, through today's lens as well. Even though selfishly, I would have loved to see someone like a Hirokazu Koreeda or even a Zhang Yimou make it into that 5 for their respective films that came out
And I
this year.
agree. Like through today's Academy, I mean, like maybe there's a chance Almodovar for sure gets in. And even though we already talked about Best Actress, I kind of wonder about Emily Duquesne. Like
over
with
Rosetta.
With the right push, you know, obviously
if she still had the Cannes win, the Cannes Best Actress win,
And that seems like a film that, again, when we're talking about today, that probably gets picked up by a Neon, and Neon would probably push that film for her performance. So I could see that also getting in.
Should we wrap up the awards part by me asking you who you would have liked to see nominated, who wasn't? Because I have a little list here too.
Sure, yeah, go for it. Let's hear your list.
Okay, so I have Damon for Talented Mr. Ripley.
I love that you brought that up.
Because I think like the arc the character goes on is so weird and creepy and sad. And I do think like he really plays all those notes.
No, I agree. I briefly mentioned this on last week's show when we talked about our favorite performances, and that was a great honorable mention for me because it's Matt Damon outside of the conventional wheelhouse of what we know him to be.
Right.
Like he's doing things in that movie that are just so unique to that film that I think is great. Again, would it be in a 5 for me? I don't know, but I love the performance. And if it made
it's an
anyone's
outlier
5,
for Damon.
I would not blame anyone for having it in their 5 for sure.
For supporting, I had Philip Baker Hall for Magnolia.
Okay,
that's a great one.
Stuff.
That's a great one there. Yeah.
And this is tipping my top 10 list a little bit, but Forrest Whitaker, Ghost Dog.
Okay, yeah, I think we considered that a 2000 film because it came out in 2000 in the States. But
I was going to get into this with you because I had listened to your 2000 episode, and I was like, "Oh, we're going to have some problems here."
Our criteria has become a little wonky when we go back in these previous years.
I know.
So I write for a website called Crooked Marquee, and we do a lot of great anniversary pieces. It's really fun, but you always have to check, like, is this the international release date or the U.S. release date? Because the anniversary is the U.S. release date per style, the house style. So, I'll if you want to hear my list, I'll share with you what I.
Okay. Yeah,
what
I'll
I
have to.
discovered after listening to your 2000.
Fair enough. Okay.
Okay, so I don't know how many of these are going to be 2000 movies. Stamp for the Limey.
Yeah.
Oh, heck yeah.
Absolutely. In a 5. Yeah.
Yeah, same.
I'd like to see Luis Guzman. He was nominated for Independent Spirit, but I'd like to see him for Limey.
Okay.
For Comedy Golden Globes, would like to see Galaxy Quest as a film, and then
I love that movie.
Tim Allen for Galaxy Quest as
Okay.
an actor comedy.
Okay,
I had
makes
Joel
sense.
Osment as well, just because, like you said, he's just like, I have a lot of problems with child actors a lot of the time, and he's just the best of the best.
Totally agree.
Jim Broadbent for Topsy Turvy.
Yeah,
That's a good choice too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Penelope Cruz for All About My Mother, supporting.
Okay.
And then Kidman for Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah. Love that.
All great ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are all great picks. I did not prepare a list. I didn't know that this was going to be a specific talking point. I love.
Sorry if I'm going.
No.
You're
it's
good.
Totally
You're
fine.
good.
I love this. But it's I guess some of it kind of circulates to what we talked about last week on the show.
I was gonna say, yeah, because we had a lot of nominees that didn't make it into the actual Oscar or even Golden Globe nominations that we would have loved to see for sure.
Yeah, because obviously, top of the list for me. I mean, we mentioned Emily DeCane. That made both of our top 5s last week. And then I would have to go to, again, Afterlife from Coretta and the performances there. But I'm such a Coretta head, that's certainly no surprise to our listeners. But I would certainly go to that film. And Takashi, again, I'm not sure how to say his, Makizuki. I'm butchering that, but absolutely, hands down, one of my favorite performances of 1999.
I also want to once again highlight Wei Minzi for Not One Less, the Zhang Yimou film.
Yeah.
She was in my 5 when we talked about it last week, and she, like everyone in that movie, non-professional actor, really going for the neo-realism of that movie in a similar way to something like Bicycle Thieves or Padre Panchali, and feels very in spirit with those previous movies that really kind of spearheaded that type of movement. And she has a moment in the end of that movie that might be my favorite acting moment of the year 1999. It might not be the best performance in totality, but maybe my favorite acting scene from this specific year.
And those performances are so rarely given their due by awards, the Academy or whoever. Like they,
and again, I guess another performance that I don't think is awards worthy by any stretch of the imagination, but is overlooked. And this also circles back to other, I guess, segments that we've already talked about in the show, where we're talking about overlooked movies from that year. I think Russell Crowe in Mystery Alaska is one of the better sports movie performances we've seen, because and I've talked about this a lot, like the way that film gets hockey right, like hockey culture right, I think is incredibly impressive. And unless you live it, it's really hard to articulate how well the film conveys that. And I think the performances do such a great job, with Russell Crowe kind of leading the charge there. And also the other element of that too, which I've talked at length about, is the reverence that film shows toward the sport. And so many sports movies, I feel like, fail at this, but especially hockey movies fail miserably at this. But that film desperately loves the game and does such a robust job of demonstrating it. And I think that also comes through well in Crowe's performance. So, I mean, his work in The Insider is the performance that should have been nominated. But I think because Mr. Alaska is just this small little hockey movie and no one really watched it or cared about it, that performance gets overlooked. But Russell Crowe doesn't know how to phone in a performance. I don't know if he did any sort of research or what he did to prepare for that role, but he does such a good job of conveying those two aspects that the film is trying to drive, and I deeply love it. So like when we're talking about 99 and we're talking about overlooked movies or performances that I think are underrated, that's easily my go-to answer.
JD, do you think it would be weird to say Mystery Alaska was kind of the hockey version of EFIS?
Oh,
Yeah. In a lot of ways it is. Yeah. I mean, until you get to the New York Rangers part of it. Yeah. I mean, but that's ultimately what it is.
Because
I
it
mean,
does kind of have a similar hangouty vibe,
Yeah.
at least for like the first half of it.
I mean, the whole vibe is them doing their version of beer hockey.
Yeah.
But they just happen to do it outside on a pond.
Yeah.
I can't do that in Florida, unfortunately. Although they're supposedly having an outdoor game in South Florida come January. I don't know how that's going to happen.
Oh, yeah. Please take videos of that when it happens.
Oh,
I
I'm
need to
planning
see-
on going. I
Yeah,
need to see how
that.
this is going to work. I need to see this in person.
Is it-
Unfortunately,
I haven't
No, go
seen it.
ahead.
Is it like EFIS in that there's a lot of attention paid to the mechanics of the game? Because I know nothing about baseball, and I like that part of EVIS washed over my head, but it totally didn't matter
Yeah.
because it was just such a great movie. But
yeah, the first half of Mystery Alaska, I mean, and even when it gets to its crescendo at the end, like the way they shoot hockey, it is unlike any other hockey movie I've seen, including Miracle, as much as I like Miracle as well. But there is an attention to the mechanics of how they skate, how a goalie moves, at least in the context of 1999, the way
Yeah.
goalie is done now would be so very different. But that's part of the fun. Like it is a time capsule of how hockey was played at that time. And it does things that I've just have never seen. So yeah, the mechanics of it, and again, also like the hockey culture of it. And hockey culture, in full transparency, isn't ideal. It's not great all of the time.
Sure.
There's a shifting of the tides now, which they're trying to make hockey for everybody, which is great. But hockey culture is so distinct to any other sport I've played, and I've played them all, at least in my youth. And that film gets both the good and the bad, and it wants to demonstrate both. And it's not afraid to showcase both, which I think is really interesting, especially of the time in the 90s. I deeply respect that movie a lot.
I mostly made the EFIS comparison because I think both movies do a great job celebrating the spirit of those respective sports.
Yeah, it loves hockey. And Mystery Alaska loves the sport. There's absolutely no doubt about it. It loves the game. And there is an attention to detail when it comes to the mechanics of the sport, for sure. At least, again, of the time.
Sure.
It's great.
obviously, you have to come do this episode on our podcast. now.
I any day I will be there. You name the time, I will be there. And it's also a film that makes me cry. Because you haven't seen it, I don't want to give it away, but there is a monologue in the third act of that film. Whenever I hear it, immediate chills. It just I can't even think about it. I'm starting to well up just thinking about it.
This is so
It's so
exciting.
good. It's so good. At any rate, I didn't mean to get us down that rabbit hole, but what were we talking about? Overlooked performances? Is that where we
Overlooked
were?
movies, overlooked performances.
Yeah.
Before we get into Julia's list to round things out.
yeah.
Overlooked film I had, since foreign films tend to be overlooked, is Takashi Miike's Audition.
Okay, yeah, that's another one that,
Is that
I think
your
we consider for
2000
2000. I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that
So
was
you've
on
talked
your
about
list,
it
right,
already.
Brennan?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're gonna. I think that was one of those that. So the way we define that is, it always gets frustrating and annoying when some movies premiere, let's say at like a New York or LA film festival, in let's say in this case 1999, but it gets its limited release to the public in 2000. In those cases, we qualify it as a 2000 film.
Yeah. We typically go by limited release date in the U.S.
Yeah.
That's why we qualified some of these 99 films as 2000. But it's becoming trickier and trickier the further we go back.
We're gonna have
You know,
to
'cause, like,
disregard that criteria when we get to a certain year.
I think so, because like another great example, like Princess Mononoke got a 99 release in the States. But most people don't consider that a 1999 movie. It's a 97 movie. Because I guess that's what it says on IMDb. I don't know. I don't know where that comes from, but that film got its initial US release in 99. But so it's just getting trickier and trickier to define that.
Well, I will plow on and we'll see how we go.
All right.
So the other one I had was Mansfield Park, the Jane Austen adaptation.
Oh, I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah, that's a blind
Yeah,
spot
I
for
really
me as well.
recommend it because it's considered
Okay.
one of the lesser of Jane Austen's books, and this is also considered the lesser Jane Austen adaptation. But I think it's
Okay.
really great. Frances O'Connor is the heroine, who's the poor relation. She just gives this really beautiful, delicate performance.
Okay.
And in Jane Austen's works, this is a unique story because it's like the only one that acknowledges that the comfort in which these people are living comes from the profits from a slave plantation.
Mhm.
And I think this adaptation really works that darkness in.
Okay.
And
Okay.
basically what happens is that all these characters who are supposed to be chaperoned are like out of control and putting on a play and nobody's watching them, and there's some devious people. And so there's this feeling of like sexiness that happens when like there are no rules going on and like some people are kind of predatory and it's dark and appealing. And I feel like that atmosphere is done really well. And Alessandro Nivola as the bad boy is just great in it.
Okay.
Okay.
And then my final overlooked one was Summer of Sam, which I don't know if you would count as overlooked or not. Do you count it as 99?
Yeah, I count this as 99, and I like this one. It's not one of my favorite Spike Lee joints. I think, if anything, really my issue with it is that it's a movie that seems to establish a point pretty early, and it doesn't have as much momentum past establishing that point very early on. But it is kind of interesting to see Spike Lee really play with like the Martin Scorsese formula in a way.
Yeah.
And I think he's having a lot of fun with the form in that movie. And I think in a way it makes sense for a movie like that to have been made in between something like Do the Right Thing and then eventually 25th Hour, because it kind of sits in a middle space in a way by capturing the paranoia of New York City at that time, given some type of historical event. And it really is about the paranoia itself and not really about the killings, which I think is a really interesting backdrop. I love the sense of place of that one.
Yeah, I think it's like he's really dissecting this Italian-American whiteness and masculinity and like trying to work it out and showing how weird and strange it is. And I think him doing that from his perspective is actually really fascinating.
Yeah.
And as a New Yorker, the kind of attitude of like, why do we love New York even when it's terrifying and awful? I think is very, it comes through very strongly in a way I identify with.
Interesting. Yeah, that's fascinating. Anything else? Is that all you have on your list?
Those are my overlooked ones. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All righty. Well, before we get to your top 10, and I'm very curious to hear this based off this conversation.
Yeah.
I just want to hear your thoughts, and maybe this will kind of bleed into it a little bit, but your thoughts on the legacy that is 1999. Brendan and I are going to have a lot of thoughts on this next week, but I want to hear what you think about 1999, its reputation. Do you think that it's earned that reputation? Is it warranted? Is it nuanced? I'm curious where you sit on that.
I think it's absolutely warranted. And I think, every time we're talking about a new episode, and like I said, we've done, or prior to my hosting, they have done some biggies. And, those are always really rewarding to talk about. The first time I was ever on the podcast, we talked about Straight Story, and it was just a ball. But I think, it's just such a weird moment. Like if you Google 1999 movies, which will sometimes lead you to 2000 movies, apparently. They're just all these weird little gems that come up that are not part of the canon of 99, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah.
And, like I assume Mystery Alaska and stuff like that. And it just,
Mhm.
I mean, I think it was like a really vibrant time for filmmaking. Like I said, I'm trying not to be an old crotchety person about the state of movies, but, like we're coming across the kind of tail end of the idea of like the screenwriter, like everyone wanting to be a screenwriter and the screenwriter being cool.
Yeah.
And like Charlie Kaufman is definitely like the apotheosis of that, right? And you're coming to like the tail end of the kind of Tarantino-esque knockoffs with something like Go, which is, a little slight, but also really fun movie.
Mhm.
And, like we're coming maybe to the end of rom-coms and like things are just kind of, a lot of things are happening. And, then we have Phantom Menace coming and, that's going to change everything. That's going to bring us to a lot of where we are today. And I think, like in a way, 1999 movies can be escapist because it's a pre 9/11 time.
Mhm.
But I don't think that means we're not thinking about serious things. Like you look at a movie like Three Kings, which is really looking at the legacy and the waste of the first Iraq War.
Yeah.
You look at something like South Park, the South Park movie, where Saddam Hussein is like the big mocked baddie.
Mhm.
And I think even with something like Dick, we're looking backwards, right? I think it's weird to make a movie about Richard Nixon like 3 years after the Monica Lewinsky, after all that happens, and to look at like bad presidents and like why, what makes bad presidents and what is the legacy of corruption in government done to us. And so I think there are what's been terrifying to me as just a citizen is the way that 90s politics have resurfaced in our politics now in just a more warped fashion. Yeah. And so I think like there are these like darker strands going through that are going to resurface and seem very important, like with something like Mr. Death, where conspiracy theories are happening. Yeah. And so I feel like there's just a lot of texture to the strands of thought and the strands of trends of movie making that are happening in 99 that just make it, maybe I'm just saying what I said before. Like, it's very rich in terms of the types of good movies that are made.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's fascinating. And that'll be a great jumping off point to where we go next week. Because it is a year, obviously, that people hail as one of the best of all time. And I mean, the further we talk about it here, I think the nucleus of that, at least for me, really comes down to its depth and variety. Just so many different movies that can really appeal to really everyone. And it also has all of these ambitious movies that will change the game in terms of, like what we can call serious filmmaking, or on the blockbuster side of it, as you're talking about, and not just Phantom Menace, but with how revolutionary The Matrix is and how that also became so influential in its own way. So it's a year where you can draw a direct line from 99 specifically to where we're at now. There's no doubt about that. And that certainly, you cannot deny the year, regardless of what you think about the year on the whole. That is undeniable with the year for sure.
Yeah, we haven't even talked really enough, but we haven't touched like on Matrix and Fight Club, and also Cronenberg's Existenz as these movies that are like, I think that's another important strand, is that we're approaching the millennium, and like, what is our relationship going to be to technology and to the future as like this other strand that's going through it. And then I mean, like, look at the phrase red pilled, right? And look at the way
Mhm.
people talk about Fight Club. Like, they've just become part of
It's
the like
fascinating.
the texture of our culture, and
Yep.
for good and for ill, you know.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like there's so many movies from this year that have kind of been engraved in the cultural zeitgeist of not just this year, but the end of the 90s into the early 2000s. Like they're part of that historical blueprint, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
All
even
right,
on the
well-
subject of like, sorry to cut you off, but even on the subject of like big movies like blockbuster films such as The Matrix, you know, a movie like The Mummy, for instance, if that comes out this year, it gets praised as an old-fashioned blockbuster. And at the time, it was criticized for basically being an Indiana Jones ripoff. But nowadays, like, we don't get movies that even look like that anymore.
No, we don't.
Yeah.
We don't. We get movies that look like how I look right now on YouTube, and it's unfortunate.
The movies look wicked.
They look a little wicked. All right, well, let's get to Julia's top 10. We're going to end this episode. Obviously, Brennan and I, we're going to give our top 10 next week on the show.
Yeah.
But we wanted to end this week's show with Julia's top 10 movies. 1999, there have been many clues throughout this conversation. So let's go ahead and jump into it.
How much detail do you want me to go into? Because I don't want to step on your conversation next week.
Oh, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
You
This
can
is your
finish.
floor. This is your floor.
This
right
is
now.
your floor. We'll
right.
chime in where we can.
Okay, so I do say, like, because of this question of is it a 99 or a 2000 movie, you gave me a
Go
little
by your
leeway.
criteria. Go by your criteria.
You
And
gave me a
we'll,
little leeway for runners up, which are two, which are Beau Travail and
Okay.
Virgin Suicides. But you guys talked about them wonderfully in your 2000 retrospective. So everybody
Thank
just go listen
you.
to that. You don't need my
Great
Thank you.
movies.
Yeah, love them.
Okay, so number 10 is Dick.
I love
Okay.
And I think of all the like girly comedies of 99, of which there were many and of which there were many good ones, this is the best. It's the smartest. It's the goofiest.
I agree.
It's such a great conceit that these two girls would just kind of bumble into Watergate and stumble into becoming Deep Throat, which is quite accurate because the people who were involved in Watergate were just like bumblers and idiots themselves. So the idea that they could be taken down by teen girls is entirely plausible.
Sorry to cut you off on that, but I do want to say Michelle Williams's performance, it's actually one of her best performances in that movie, I think.
It is. They're both, she and Kirsten Dunst are both very good. But
Absolutely.
Michelle Williams, I love it because her character just develops this passionate crush on Nixon. And it's so funny because it's such a great example of the fact that like a teen girl will just fall madly in love with anybody or anything. And you know, the fact that it's
Yeah.
Richard
yeah.
Nixon just exemplifies the fact that like it doesn't matter. She's just looking to fall in love with something.
Mhm.
I do think Dan Hedaya is the best Nixon on screen.
Okay.
And I think that he's kind of lonely and doofy and just kind of in over his head. And I think that was a big part of Nixon that is real but overlooked in something like Oliver Stone's film, which tries to be very like more ponderous and historical.
That's a great point.
And I think it's as a satire or response to All the President's Men is brilliant. Like the way they execute those notes is brilliant. So it's a great girl power movie. And then I think also really lampoons the men who took themselves seriously, like Carl Bernstein and Bob Woodward, and sort of makes them figures of fun. And I think the longer those people have been in public life, the more accurate that satire seems to have become.
Nice.
But yeah, just a delight from start to finish and really clever.
Good stuff. All right.
So for number 9, I have Ghost Dog.
Okay.
I'm a sucker for a good, like, a man must have a code movie.
Good stuff. Yeah.
And it's a very genre-ish film in that it has these very quirky elements with the friends he makes in his neighborhood. And it builds up this weird, unexpected world. And these mafiosi are just kind of goofy in a way. But then it becomes this very serious, violent quest in a also fascinating way. And then, I mean, it just all rests on Forrest Whitaker.
Yeah.
You know, like he has this stillness
good.
and
Yeah.
certainty to him. Like he plays the part with incredible grace. And it's just an amazing performance.
Yeah. Brilliant stuff. And we noted earlier that this was a 2000 film by our criteria. This was number 15 on my list for 2000. So I deeply, deeply love it as well. I don't know where it would rank on a 99 list, but it's certainly in the conversation for sure.
Yeah, same here.
I love it. Yeah.
Okay, so 8, I have Magnolia.
Okay.
And when I first started watching this movie, I was just like, this is too high concept. It's not going to come together in a way that feels satisfying. But Anderson makes the strands come together so beautifully, and just, pulls out profound humanity from these stories and the way the stories connect, which does not feel cutesy at all in the end. It's, it's just wrenching about human pain, but has this belief in redemption and incredible cast.
Yeah.
Yep. Good stuff. Magnolia. What can you say about it?
Will most likely be talked about next week.
We'll probably, it might come up next week. We'll see. But Julia's not wrong. Good stuff.
So 7 is The Limey. I've just
wow.
rewatched it, with a little bit of sadness after Terrence Stamp's passing.
I know.
But it's just so spare and beautifully constructed, and it moves so well as a revenge thriller. But keeping that mournful tone of the man who's lost his daughter. Stamp is incredible. Gooseman's incredible. Peter Fonda, I think, is really great in terms of embodying a whole era, a whole zeitgeist, really, in this one character. I think it's just the Soderbergh, the tight, elegant Soderbergh style used really well.
Yeah. Really love that movie a lot as well. And to reiterate, last week we did our top 5 performances of 99. He was number 3 for both of us.
Yeah.
For both Brendan and I. So, Terrence Stamp, one of the best.
The way he holds that movie together, which is such an irregular movie, just given how weirdly constructed that it is. The movie's such a vibe. It's a hazy fever dream of grief. And he is the connective tissue that actually makes that movie make sense.
Absolutely.
It's almost like he's directing the movie in a way.
Yeah. Not to diminish Soderbergh, because I love what
Soderbergh
does,
but the yin and yang of what they're both bringing to that
exactly,
movie is so crucial to how they work together.
Yeah.
But Soderbergh really knows how to use actors, right? Like,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No one knew what to do with Luis Guzman the way he knows what to do with Luis Guzman.
That's a great point. Yeah. Soderbergh is maybe a little underrated in that regard. Like every movie he does, there's at least going to be great performances in it for sure. All right, what do you got at number 6 then?
Okay, 6 is Being John Malkovich.
Okay.
And this is a movie that I was just, I just remember leaving that theater transformed via a mind fuck. When I first saw it, just feeling like my reality had just kind of shifted in a profound way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so original, so unusual. There are images from that movie that are like branded on my brain, like the low ceiling office and going through the portal and all the Malkovich. Even
Great
that
moment.
Wonderful.
that erotic puppet show that John Cusack's character puts on.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, and like I said before, Keener, I think, is just great in this movie.
Yeah. Love me some Spike Jonze. I've said this forever. I need Spike Jonze to make another movie. It's been way too long. I need him back in my life pronto. Yeah.
He's good at his job.
Love John. Yeah. Being John Malkovich, great movie. All right, number 5. What do you got at number 5?
Straight Story.
Mm-hmm.
When we
right.
talked about this on our podcast, we were saying that like only David Lynch could make this movie work.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you gave it to any other director, it'd be too saccharine. And he keeps this, it's just this like wondrous simplicity. There are strange little Lynchian details at the corners, but he shows he can play it straight masterfully. And
pun intended.
The movie makes people quirky, Middle American people quirky, but it doesn't talk down to them.
Yeah.
Or make them caricatures.
It's a great point.
And then Farnsworth, like just those blue eyes filling with tears. Those monologues about his buddies, just like, oh my God.
Just that scene at the bar. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Just so good.
At the just the exchange at the end. You came
The
here
end.
and that.
Oh my god. Was
Yeah,
there a
and, like-
better? Was there a better ending in '99?
Then Harry Dean Stanton just showing up.
Just so good.
That's a great question, JD.
Like this, they should retroactively go back and give the Oscar for best casting to this one as the first one, because whoever cast this, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. The Stray Story, number 5.
4.
Number 4. Okay,
Yeah, we're at 4.
all right.
Talented Mr. Ripley.
Talented Mr. Ripley. Okay.
I'm a big fan of the Ripley novels, and I just find this like world so dark and juicy. And actually, like we were talking about Damon's performance, like the conventional, the real Ripley, right, is more sociopathic right from the start. But I like the way in the movie you just feel Ripley losing himself more and more. And
Yeah.
he just like is backed into a corner and has to do more and more horrible things. And by the end, he's just heartbroken, but is still committing a murder.
Yeah.
You know, in this way that's like, you know, like horrifying, but also wrenching.
Yeah.
They said Jude Law, I think, is like peak Jude Law in this.
Mhm.
Great supporting performances by Philip Seymour Hoffman and Kate Blanchett.
Mhm.
I mean, then the whole thing just looks freaking gorgeous, like sun-soaked
Yeah.
Italy.
It looks great. Yeah.
What more do you need?
And you said Damon would be in a 5 for you for best actor.
I think I would put him in 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, that's a good. It's a good movie. I really like it a lot.
Good.
As well.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Number 3 then.
Number 3 is Insider.
Heck yeah.
Okay. There we go. There's the man.
And like I'm a big sucker for journalism movies generally, and like
Yeah.
the path of finding things out and
Yeah.
you know being noble and like that. You get that in The Insider, but it has a really bitter, mournful aftertaste.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think the way Man, like we talked before about Man adapting a very Man style,
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
and I think the suspense mode and the tension of the thriller that he brings here, and the
Mhm.
that sense of surveillance, and
Yeah.
that like you don't know who's watching you. I think it's just so well constructed in this movie.
Yep.
I am like perhaps too into stories of masculinity and crisis, but I really like the twin portraits of these two men who are completely let down by the codes and the institutions that they set their stock in and define themselves through.
Mhm.
I mean, in Crow, just like what he gives you with his eyes, and just this guy who's weird and flawed, but also brave and disillusioned, and also, you know, pretty aware of the fact of like he's going to have his 15 minutes and then he's going to have lost everything.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, like doing it anyway.
Mhm.
Pacino, we're definitely getting into the scenery chewing mode at this point.
Sure.
But I think it works here because he's just insanely committed to his ideals and to his what he sees as his kind of almost knightly obligations to his sources.
Mhm.
And so so I said like the way that the two portraits of the men work together, I really think is really masterful. Let us remember that this is about CBS's 60 Minutes.
Yeah.
Which is a program that just folded and settled a bogus lawsuit with Trump.
Mhm.
And Pacino leaves 60 Minutes at the end, right?
Yeah.
And he says, what's broken here can't be fixed. So just in terms of its resonance, you know, like it's just,
Yeah.
you can watch it today and it still feels totally.
It absolutely does. It's a great point.
Yeah. Brendan, just remind me next week to cut out the last 2 minutes, and I'll just repaste it in the next week's show.
You got it.
Because I don't think I could say it any better than what Julia just said. So, or I'm just gonna copy down verbatim what you said, if you don't mind, Julia,
And just steal your idea for it. Yeah.
Steal
We'll
steal
just
the
play
words exactly.
on this movie.
You let me throw
I'll
in
just
Ghost
quote you.
Dog. Let me throw a dog. I'll give it to you.
Perfect. Love it.
Okay, number 2, potentially a cheat, but did win the Oscar in 1999 for Best Foreign Film, All About My Mother.
Love it. Yes.
Okay.
This is just like gorgeous and glorious. I think it's at this point, it's his most ambitious and accomplished film at this point in his career. It's still probably my favorite. And just the way he lives in the world of women and how very different, strong women build relationships with each other with this very easy camaraderie and develop such feeling for each other and such acceptance for each other. And just, not a bad performance in it. The way it has this kind of joyous, hopeful feeling, like in the specter of AIDS, which is still a thing in the late 90s. And like kind of like very unexpected take on women's relationships and queer kinship and things like that. And as always with Almodovar, it looks gorgeous. Every time I see an Almodovar movie, I'm like, I have to redecorate. I need new clothes. This is not good. Again, as in with Malkovich, there's shot compositions and uses of color from this movie that they're burned onto my brain.
It's a beautiful looking movie.
It is beautiful. And I agree with what you're saying regarding the way he deeply loves those characters, the way he empathizes, the way he shows reverence. And he's not afraid to show their flaws either. Like their flaws, their quirks, everything. He vibrantly taps into all that, and it's beautiful. Yeah, love that movie as well. And that was number 2 for you, right?
Yes. So
number 1.
Drum roll.
Topsy-turvy.
Whoa.
Topsy-turvy.
Okay.
So
you
should know about me that I basically I have a PhD in theater, and I was a total theater kid.
Okay, nice.
Okay.
So I love a backstage musical movie, and of course Mike Leigh takes that and elevates it and makes it more rooted and interesting.
Yeah.
With his social realism, his attention to class, and just to the details of life. What I love about it is that it's a saying that making art for the masses, making art that's popular, is something noble and worth doing and suffering for. I think it won either Best Costume or Best Production Design. It looks fabulous, but it also looks real.
Yeah.
It's not it doesn't look like Moulin Rouge or something. It looks like it comes from a real theatrical world.
Yeah. It still seems kind of small and contained. It's not lavish in that same kind of way, which I like about it.
And as always with Leigh, just an incredible ensemble cast working off each other.
Yeah.
Perfectly. Jim Broadbent, Timothy Spall, Leslie Manville, many, many others. Yeah. So that's the dearest to my heart, I would say.
I think this is a really great movie as well. I haven't formulated my top 20 yet for next week. I don't know exactly where this will land, but I do really love it a lot. And it's brilliant because it also feels like a movie we don't get a whole lot of these days, in the sense that it is kind of this aesthetically grand movie, as you're talking about. There's a lot to it that is extremely immersive from a world building perspective. But it's also this movie that tells this elegant story without ever holding your hand. It offers up a lot of context clues, and it allows the performances to fill in the gaps. But it's not there to tell you everything that's going on at every given moment. And I just feel like so many, this movie today in the hands of a lot of other filmmakers, that's what would happen. And it would become a much more watered down version of this narrative. And
it'd be like a Hollywood version of it.
Yeah, like a Hollywood. I just love that Mike Leigh isn't willing to succumb to those pitfalls. He stays true to who he is, and but it comes through in this elegant way that I deeply love.
It's a very funny movie too,
And it's very funny. Yeah.
One thing I'll give the movie for, if I'm going to pick any type of award for it, it has what I think might be the funniest moment of 1999, and that is the phone scene, like the phone exchange between Jim Broadbent, I forget who else, where they're just kind of yelling back and forth over the phone. Is one of the funniest things I think I saw from any movie that I caught up with for this retrospective.
That's good stuff. All right,
So that's me.
That's a great list.
That's your top 10 movies of 99. Are there any other honorable mentions you want to throw out there? Real quick?
Oh my God, we'll be here all night.
I know we've talked probably about a lot of them already. But.
Let me give it a quick think. I actually recently saw Sixth Sense for the first time because I had not. I learned about the twist relatively early.
Sure.
After it came out, and so I was like, "Oh well, why go see it now?" And like,
it's ruined for you.
You don't need the twist at all. Like just seeing how you get to that point is definitely totally rewarding.
Yeah.
And it's just so beautiful. Like it looks beautiful. It's so atmospheric. Great Bruce Willis performance, and like we said already, Osmond is just incredible in it. And I just, for something that I was assuming I would be so stuck on this idea of like, oh, what's going to happen, or oh, here's how the movie's going to trick you.
Yeah,
it was just this beautiful experience watching it, like sensually very beautiful, and the mood was very, it was very sad, but it was very, it just really bowled me over, I guess I would say.
Oh yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah.
And then I guess, because I'm a real Cronenberg person, Existenz would be my other one.
So there you go, Brendan. We were trying to figure out how we said it, how it was pronounced.
Existenz, yeah. That's how they say it in the movie. So that's how I assume it's. I mean, it's obviously play on words with existence, but very interesting double feature that would make with The Matrix.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Existenz though as well.
Oh, me too.
Love that movie.
Wild movie.
All right. Well, thanks, Julia, for being here. This was awesome. Thanks so much for sharing your thoughts on 1999 and giving us your top 10 of the year. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you. It was so much fun.
Where can we find you on social media and all your awesome work online?
I am I'm Julia Sirmons at Blue Sky. And you can find a lot of my recent writing at Crooked Marquee. That's kind of where my most recent stuff is. But I also write a lot for Crime Reads, and you can find a couple pieces of mine at Bright Wall Dark Room. I have a website, juliasirmons.com, but it has not been updated in quite some time.
No, that's okay. We're all very busy. We totally understand.
Absolutely.
And of course, you can catch her at 99 the podcast. And anytime you guys want to talk Mystery Alaska, let me know.
Yeah,
I will
absolutely.
be there in a heartbeat. So any excuse to talk about that movie, I'm there. Please go and check out Julia's awesome work and be sure to follow her on Blue Sky over there. Again, thanks for being here. Really do appreciate you. Next week, we are, of course, diving into the retrospective. We haven't decided which film we're going to review, but we will do a review of one of the 99 films, and then we will give our top 10 movies of the year as well. And we'll talk about the film the year 1999. We'll talk about it a little bit further at large, give our broad thoughts on the year. So you can be on the lookout for that next week. A lot of preparation, a lot of movie watching. I still have some more to do, apparently, now after this conversation.
That was the downside of this episode. We got more homework.
Got more homework to do. Got a week to fit it all in. We'll do our best. But
once a teacher, always a teacher, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So very much look forward to that. Also want to note that we will have a review of Caught Stealing coming this week as well. So you can be on the lookout for that. Darren Aronofsky's latest. And last week we had 3 reviews that went out. We thought that we might have 3 reviews, and we ended up deciding to do K-pop Demon Hunters. And so we did a review for that. We did a review for the Chinese animated film Neza 2. And then Brendan did a review with Shadon Larkey on Ethan Cohen's latest film, Honey Don't. Film I still need to catch up with. But you guys had a really great conversation on that.
It's an interesting movie.
Very curious to go and see that one as well. So a lot's happening here at InSession Film, but go and check all that out. And again, stay tuned for our 99 retrospective next week on the show. With that said, thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks, Julia, again for being here. And we will see you all next time on the InSession Film Podcast.